All right,
Hey,
we're back. Graveyard Shift Movie Podcast, episode number 103. This week, we're doing it on a different day than when you usually do it, and I just got off of work, so I didn't bother turning on ring lights and shit. So you're just getting overhead light today. There's no hide my ready sweat. Ready? I meant to say red sweaty face, but I just combined the two. And also Tyler has a new microphone.
hey, new microphone.
Yeah, so it
I
sounds
think I
different.
sound the same, but
No, you sound very different on this side at least.
really, like better or no?
It's clearer.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, um, so like I told Tyler if I don't know how he sounds right now in the recording, so I might have to change him throughout doing this or something. But if he sounds different, that's why. Got a new microphone. But we're here today to talk about a movie. That's usually what we do, and and
Almost always, yeah.
yeah. And this movie is directed by Ari Aster. It's his follow-up movie to Hereditary. And he followed up with a movie called Midsommar. I always say Midsommar, but I don't know if it's supposed to just be said Midsummer. But I always say Midsommar. I don't know. It's got an O in there and an A, where a U and a E should be.
Well, it's like Swedish, right? So how you?
Something. Well, Swedes don't know how to spell. But anyway, here to watch Midsommar, which, if you listen to a couple episodes that we've done, you might have heard me mention that I'm not a fan of at all. So I picked this going into it and being like, all right, let's give it another go. And Tyler, I will say that I was pretty proud of myself because I went in as soon as it started. I was like, here we go with this movie again. And I told myself, no, Thomas, you watch this with an open mind and you started again. And I did that. There was a point where I was like, I'm in it. This is clean slate, as they say. And I didn't like it. I'm gonna give it a 4. I think I might have liked it more this time than I did the first time watching it, and maybe that's because the second or the first time I just remembered how much I disliked it. So this first time there was a point that I was like, all right, I'm still into this, and then by the end of it I was like, oh yeah, I remember why I didn't like this movie. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4 for Midsommar. Tyler, where are you gonna give this one?
I don't know. Like, spoiler that Tom already said he didn't like it. Bags, who has been here before but hasn't been back in a while, said he absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
I don't know why you guys don't like it.
Can I have a thing that as you were like, this movie's not bad. It is, Tyler. And and I think you've convinced yourself that you like it because everyone else hates it. So in your mind you're like, well, I like it. Take that. You don't like it. It's your brain
like
messing with you.
I don't like it. I really don't.
Oh.
But
I'm giving you
like
psychology breakdowns, and you're like, I didn't like it.
yeah, I don't like it. I don't find it to be a horror movie at all. It's very weird. I'm a huge fan of elevated horror. This isn't that. This is just a bad drug movie, right? Like the only thing that makes it horror is the very 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 absolute end.
Yeah,
and even that's like pushing it. But
I figured you liked
a good weird movie, but not a horror movie at all.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna be honest, it's a good weird movie from a woman's point of view, not a man's point of view. Like, I think if you're a female, you're like, get him, girlfriend, or whatever.
One of my biggest problems with this movie is the boyfriend character. I feel like the whole movie, you're supposed to not like him and supposed to be like, this guy sucks. but I never once am I like, yeah, this guy is, he just seems like a guy who's stuck in a relationship that he doesn't want to be in, that instead of just owning up to it and being like, yeah, we should break up. He's well, then, some family stuff happens and he's like, well, how the fuck can I break up with her right now? Right now. But I'll tell you, the one I didn't like the most was I think Josh, the black dude. I hated Josh. Josh was a prick this whole movie. Like, yeah, I was like, if anyone, I'm not sad to see them go. It's Josh. Where are you gonna score this one? Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
I'm gonna score this one a high 6.
Oh, you're doing a little,
and that's just for
Anthony Fantano scoring there.
Was it? No.
He'll do like high 6, low 5. Like.
I love the way it was shot. I love the visual effects. I love the cheerleader's booty, and just giving it a 6. Just she was the cheerleader in Heroes.
Oh,
but it's a good movie for some people, not for me. Like, I don't know why it gets the acclaim it gets.
People really love it. And I've never, like, they're always like, it's great. And I'm like, but have you guys watched Hereditary? Like, in my opinion, Hereditary, two very different movies, I would say, but they do have a similar thread connecting them, which is family trauma. But Hereditary is so much better on every level than the acting's better. It's scarier. Like, that one's actually a full-on horror movie.
So let me ask you, what do you think this movie's about? Like, meaningful, like, not, don't tell me exactly. Well, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Go on for an hour and a half.
Well, the movie starts with
but like, because you obviously know it's not meant to be two guys in a lighthouse, right? It's supposed to represent or signify something.
What?
So, be kind to birds.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was a positive bird campaign.
I couldn't figure out the deeper meaning. I don't know if it's like, don't conform with society, if it was like, I don't know. There's a deeper, I don't know. There's something there, but I couldn't figure out what they were trying to go for. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think if I would have got it, then I would have been like, oh, this movie's pretty good. But the fact that I didn't get it, I was about to go on the internet, and see what they say. But I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I was like, I noticed the tapestries or whatever on the wall of her house before she'd even been there. So I was like, okay. I was like, I think I know enough about this movie.
Was this your first time watching it or second?
No, it's my second.
Yeah, same. All right. Well, hey, spoiler warning for Midsommar. We're gonna ruin everything about it. So if you've never seen it, you've been warned. First off, can I just say that I read this thing that seemed very dumb to me, the way it's written. All right. This is how it's written. Okay. When Christian is being spoiler, by the way, when Christian is being prepared to the sacrifice, which first off, that doesn't seem like correct grammar. When Christian is being prepared to the sacrifice, that seems like for the sacrifice. But anyway, the villagers put him in a bear suit, similar to Nicolas Cage in The Wicker Man 2006, another movie about a pagan cult involved with human sacrifices. Oddly enough, Cage's movie is a remake of The Wicker Man 1973 that is considered the basis for all the later movies about pagan cults with human sacrifices, including Midsommar. Now, I saw that, and I thought, oh, well, maybe Nicolas Cage is in a bear suit at the end of the thing when they light him on fire. He's not. It's just the same thing that's from The Wicker Man. And so it seems like to me, they were like, oddly enough, the Nicolas Cage movie was a remake. And it's like, yeah, we don't need to mention the Nicolas Cage movie. There was The Wicker Man that then got remade. We don't need to mention the remake. Like, it was, it's just based off the original. Anyway, but it just seemed weird to me, that thing. Also, whatever we disagree and agree about in this podcast while we're doing it, can we at least agree one thing off the bat, which is that Will Potter, who plays Mark in this movie, is fucking terrible in this movie. That's the eyebrows dude.
I don't know who that. Yeah,
That's the dude who has, when they take the mushrooms, he's like, "What time is it?" And the guy's like, 9 o'clock. And he's like, "The sky's blue. The sky's blue." And he was like, "Guys, lay down with me." That dude, he's in a bunch of shit, and nowadays he's like super famous. I think him and the main chick in this movie might even be dating, or at least they were hanging out the other day, and people were speculating.
Nah, she's married to some dude who beats her up or something.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, they keep getting arrested for domestic violence, but she doesn't leave him or something. It's weird. But I think he's good later on. He's just bad in the beginning, because I wanted to like throw him off a cliff in the beginning, but later when he pisses on that tree, I'm like, it's fucking hilarious. It's the funniest part of the whole movie.
Yeah.
My opinion, though. So
I don't know. I was just, the whole time I was watching, I was like, man, this guy sucks.
I got that feeling about the black guy. I don't know his name.
Josh, I know his character name.
Yeah.
Also, I spent 75% of this movie thinking that the boyfriend, whose name is Christian, that his name was Mark. And so all my notes are, well, Mark's doing this, and it took me till later to realize that, oh no, that's this other guy. So, yeah. But yeah, I didn't like that guy. And then Josh, like I said, he seemed like the biggest, most arrogant prick this whole movie. Like, he never every time they would ask him questions, he would be like, "Whoa," and like get this look. He never wanted to like be around the chick, which, you know, I guess I get that. But and then the whole thing, there's a part in this movie that we're gonna get to that they have a double suicide that is part of their culture that Josh knows about, and he knows what they're gonna do tomorrow, and instead of warning his friends like, hey, these guys are gonna kill themselves tomorrow, he just refuses to tell them. They even ask, they're like, what's going on tomorrow? And he's like,
He grins, like,
yeah,
you know,
and he's like, wait till they see these heads get bashed in. Like, what kind of a fucking asshole? Like,
man, I'm so mad about that part because it feels like something I would do. Because like the first person nailed it. Right?
Nailed it. Dive. Yeah.
I'm the second guy, but not, you know, just because I'm not.
I go with my ankles first.
Yeah.
What a stupid moron. Like,
you're about to die, right? Jesus Christ! Why would you just step off?
Yeah. Well, yeah, like, yeah. God. How do you feel about all the like conjoined, you know, when people feel pain, everyone in the group starts yelling with them and stuff? I feel like a lot of people might dig that. I was like, I don't like, especially when the main girl Danny is crying and they start doing the with her, and like I get, it's, you know, I get what's going on. Yeah,
like, yeah, you know, that's. But I don't know. That seems, I'm such a fucking weirdo. Like, I don't feel like other people, so I just always feel like that's not. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know. I thought she was overreacting to her family dying, and I was like, maybe it's just I'm a weirdo.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't think you'd react like that. I think that's too normal. I think you'd be in a state of shock for like a month. Well, and then
maybe that's gonna be this dude's thing. Is every movie he's just gonna have like a family death, and then like a scene of the person on their hands and knees bawling and someone else holding them. Because the exact same scene is in Hereditary with the mom on the I wanna die. She's crying and shit. And the poor dad that we keep going over, that poor guy, he's just having to hold her.
Fuck. I forgot, I didn't tell you what happened to me recently.
Okay.
It has nothing really to do with this.
All right.
But I'll throw it in there. Yeah. We'll leave it on the podcast.
Sam Raimi's back. You know. Anyway, go ahead.
It's going to make me seem like a monster.
Okay. Actually, no. No, we're not going to leave it in the podcast. the movie starts with a bunch of shots of scenery and a bitch singing. She's like, whatever Swedish language. I guess it would be Swedish. But
Is it? It's gonna be like Helsinki or something.
maybe. But
Finnish.
she's singing, and we get a bunch of shots of scenery, and then it hard cuts to like a phone ring, and it's supposed to like jolt you, you know.
It was very jarring. I can admit it was jarring.
Yeah. This is the main character, Danny, played by Florence Pugh or Pugh or whatever.
That's her, I thought that was what's her name, Hayden Panera.
No,
Hayden. Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
I can't look it up because the new mic will pick up my keyboard. But anyways,
yeah.
It's not the girl from the Cheerleaders movie.
It's not. I was wondering what cheerleader movie you were talking about when you called her the cheerleader. No, she's the girl who's Black Widow's sister now. Black Widow's sister now.
I mean, I think I said in that review that I still thought she was amazingly hot. So it's okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, Danny is calling her family, and she's saying, "Hey, got a weird email from her sister. So she's like, I guess y'all had a fight or something. I can't get in contact with her. Could you call me back and shit?" As it pans out, we see the email, and what the email says is, "I can't anymore. Everything is black. Mom and Dad are coming too," which seems like a pretty ominous email. That do they ever mention where the parents live as opposed to her, like how far away she is?
No, I don't think so.
Because I would think that if I got an email like that, I'd probably drive over. Like, I assume there must be some distance between them. But she can't get in contact with them, so she calls her boyfriend Christian. That's his name, which is, I think they're supposed to be, because I think it's supposed to, like, the pagans, the Christians, all that stuff. But she calls him, and he ends up asking her, how's your he like takes a big sigh beforehand. He's like, how's the thing with your sister going, and she's like, I can't get in contact with him and shit. And the dude is like, listen, she's bipolar. She does this like every other week, and you let her do it and, get you all worked up and shit. He's like, you really need to stop letting her control your life like this. And she's like, I'm not letting her do it. And he's like, yeah, you are, and he's like, listen, we'll talk later, just don't get too worked up. So he hangs up. Also, we see right after that she takes this pill that, if you look it up, is for like anxiety and shit. It's an anxiety pill. It's called Ativan or whatever. That was so I looked it up with it, and it was for anxiety. So, but they focused on it. So I was like, oh, what's that for? But yeah, it was just for anxiety. So she's a very anxious person. Back at the pizza restaurant where Christian is hanging out. He's hanging out with his friends, I guess, even though it never seems like any of them actually like each other. But there's Mark, who's played by fucking Will Potter or whatever. You know him if you look him up. He's the kid from We're the Millers, with the fake family and Jennifer Aniston and all that shit. There's Josh, who they're in some school together, and so Josh this whole time is like working on this fucking it's a term paper or just his thesis or that he's doing on this pagan society that they just so happen to have a friend who's from there, because apparently it's kind of like the Amish can choose to like go out in the world. I don't think it's a choice though. I think you have to, because the guy later breaks down like the ages that you do shit, and so it's like I don't remember. He's like 18 to 26 or whatever. You go out into the world and you explore or whatever. So he's here, And later we'll learn that this guy Pele, who's the pagan dude, is arranging this whole trip for all four of them to go to this village, his home village, and this is where the guy can work on his thesis more, and about Midsummer, which funny enough, when this comes out, we're in like midsummer because they said it's like the middle of June to the beginning of July, so that's kind of ironic. I didn't realize that when I picked it. But he's here at this pizza restaurant, and they're all telling him that, you know, he needs to break up with that girl. He hasn't been happy with her forever. Will Potter has some more like what's the shallow reasons for it, because like the waitress kind of gives some eyes to Christian, and he's like, look, you could be knocking that chick up tonight and shit. So he's just like thinking like sex wise, not relationship wise.
They said something weird where they're like, at least maybe who want to have sex or something.
Yeah, apparently, yeah, he's like someone who will want to put out or something. So I guess maybe there's like an intimacy thing.
Yeah, I was like, are they not having sex?
Which they never go into that much after that. Like, it's not like, what was that movie we watched where it was a whole thing about like the chick when oh no, never mind. That was Scream. Like, that was the main reason the guy was, well, not the main reason, but one of the reasons why he was, like, gonna kill his girlfriend, spoiler, was because she wouldn't put out and shit. So, that's fun. Also, at the same time, we learned that Danny knows that, like, dude wants to break up with her. And she's talking to some friend she has on their phone that she's like, well, you just need to break up with him. And she, you know, like, all that shit.
Again, another person you never see in the movie.
Never see him. Back at the pizza restaurant, they're about to leave, and Christian gets another phone call from Danny, and so they're like, really? Is she calling again? He's like, yeah, you know. And this was where, once again, I think you expect, like, a movie, is the guy not to answer. Be like, I'm not answering, you know? But he walks away from his friends and takes the phone call. Like, clearly, even though he's, like, on the outs with this relationship, like, he's not, like, being a dick about everything. He's just, you know, he's still answering her phone calls. And he answers, and he's like, hello? And then he immediately hears, like, the cry from that rehab episode. Like that. And it's just Danny on the other end bawling. And he's like, what happened? And she's like, no, no, no. And then we get what is still, like I said, and watching it the second time, the best part of the whole movie to me, which happens 15 minutes in, which is this slow-mo scene of these firefighters entering the house where Danny's sister and her family live. And you have, like the blue lights will keep hitting the camera sometimes and shit, and it's playing like this violin music that's just like just back and forth, and we see that the car in the garage has been left on, and there's some tubes and shit tied from the exhaust that lead into the house and into the parents' bedroom, where they find them dead in their sleep, obviously with the exhaust fumes, and then they go into Danny's sister room, where they find her on the ground, and she's tied or duct taped the tube into her mouth and has killed herself. And it zooms in, and we see like the unread emails from Danny on that side. But like I said, that, like, at this point in the movie, watching it the first time and watching it the second time, like, this it's so creepy, them going through, and like the look of the girl's face with the tube in her mouth and shit and everything. It's so good, and it really got me like, all right, here we go again with the, you know, this movie. And then the first time, from that point on, like, would you say the movie, like, from that first thing, what they're setting up, doesn't seem like it would go a different direction? Like, I don't know, maybe a paranormal route with it or something. But instead, we just flip to this sunny, you know, cult type thing. You know what I mean? It seems like this intro is a different movie than what you get.
But I think it's designed to do that. So what it does is, and this is just Again, not defending the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but I think what they do is they have you in this at point A
Yeah.
where you suffered a tragic loss and everything,
Uh-huh.
and then the very next scene, boom, you're on vacation,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to feel that that's how she's feeling on the inside, right? Like
Uh-huh.
you go from this tragic loss of everything to boom, everything's Gucci.
Yeah.
But like you don't, in the back of your mind, you're right. What the fuck happened? What these people, the whole family just killed themselves.
Yeah.
But
And
you're
for
going on
me,
vacation, but and you're supposed to be fighting that with her, not
for me also, the first time watching this, I think I kept thinking something was gonna come back with the sister and the moms, but it doesn't. Like they're just dead. Every now and then she'll
catch a
get like a
glimpse of 'em.
drug, hallucination of like the mom walking by, or there's like everyone loves to point it out. There's the part where they got her on the platform and they're carrying her, where you can see the sister's face with the tube in her mouth in the trees, like the trees make her face and shit. Um, but yeah, the sister and them never come back. It's just like the I don't know. Also, it seemed weird to me that for a movie that I think kind of tries to like to have some type of commentary on people with anxiety and shit like this, it kind of seems weird that they're like, oh yeah, bipolar people will fucking kill you. Like, like this is what they do. They snap and they fill up the house with, exhaust fumes and kill everybody. It just seemed weird that like
I
that's
think
their message.
much like kids who get diagnosed with ADHD,
Uh huh.
I think they use a very broad net.
Yeah.
And like, they're like, oh, that person's got ADHD, so they're allowed to be an asshole. It's like, no,
Yeah.
they're just an asshole.
Yeah.
Like you can't blame like lady is bipolar. I know like 30 people that are bipolar. I think Mav might be bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
Like or autistic, one of the anyway.
One of them.
But like it's like,
Probably
okay,
the
this
second one.
lady had like bipolar, but it was more like schizophrenia, right? To where she like killed her whole family and all this other stuff. But the fact they said, oh, they're bipolar, which means just have this stigma attached to them where they're going to murder their whole family. It's like,
Yeah.
guys, I've dated some bipolar chicks. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, it's like, Also, for the most part, people I've listened to that have bipolar, their bipolar is like, oh yeah, I like online shop a lot. Like, I'll get urges to just buy stuff. It's never like, I want to kill. And I'm sure, like, that exists. Like, I'm sure there's that thing in the world. But, yeah, it just seemed weird that that's what they went with. But anyway, after that, we get the scene I talked about with the chick bawling and screaming and the dude holding her and shit. Very reminiscent of Hereditary. Like I said, I wonder if this is gonna be a thing with this guy. He's just gonna keep making family tragedies and shit like this. I know he's working on a new movie. I don't remember. I want to say, fucking Joaquin Phoenix is in it. He's the
Yeah,
star
I
of
forgot
it.
the name of it. It's called something weird.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's a horror or what it's gonna be. But
I think it is. I
that's
think it's called. Ah, shit. I'm looking it up right now because it's going to bother me.
it's called La Dupuis or whatever they're calling that stupid choker sequel. And they
It's not
gave
the
it some
stars
French
again.
name for some reason.
I can't see. I don't know. I don't see it.
Anyway, um,
The Death of Dick Long.
uh,
That's an 824.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. After that, for some reason, I guess to cheer the chick up, she goes to a house party with this dude. Because that's what you love to do after your family just got murdered. Which I guess
To be
maybe it is.
fair,
You keep trying to want to get your mind off of it.
he was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna go. Don't worry about it. You got the,
Yeah,
continue relaxing."
yeah,
And she was like, "No, let's go."
yeah. She goes to this party, and as she's there, this is when she learns that this dude Pele, who's from this pagan Swedish village, is taking these four guys, and Josh is working on his thesis and everything. And you can tell immediately that she had no idea like this was a thing. And so dude is like, I'm probably not gonna go though, you know. He's like, you got stuff, you know, I'll stay here with you or whatever. And she's like, no, you should go, you know. And then we immediately cut to them in the apartment where like she's like, what? You're going to Sweden? Which I get her point of view. This dude was, you know, going on this fucking trip for however long it was, and didn't tell her at all about it. But he's like, you know, it's fine or whatever. And my whole thing is he tries to apologize. You know, he's like, sorry, you know, but she like doesn't think he's being serious, which he might not have been. So he's like, listen, I'm trying to, maybe I should just go, you know? And then this is once again, I think the first thing where they're trying to make you be like, this guy sucks, because then she ends up being, well, I'm sorry, you know? And so he like forces her to apologize for like him kind of being a dick for just not telling her about this vacation. Once again, dude should have just broken it off with her a while ago and he wouldn't have these problems. But
yeah, and it's like, that's why I said this movie feels like it's skewed towards the female perspective more than the man's, because like he went in there and she just started blowing up and he was like, nah, I told you I wanted to go. And then she was like, no, you said you wanted to go, you didn't say that you were going.
Yeah, which to be fair, there is a big distinction between that.
Well, you do that all the time, so I'm not gonna, but anyways, then there's this whole thing to where they start like arguing, and I'm like, there's no reason to argue, and the girl figures it out first. And she's like, I'm not trying to fight. I'm just trying to, you know. And I was like, why are they trying to make her to be the bigger, better person? And the guy's like, listen, I'm just going to go. And it's like, okay, sounds good. And she's like, no, stay. Yeah. And he's like, but I don't want to fight. And he's like, we won't fight. And then they continue to fight, you know? So it's like, you feel like this dude's been putting up with this for 4 years. Because they say it later on.
I mean,
you know, 4 years, 2 weeks.
There's also the thing when she was talking to her friend earlier, she's like, well, you know, I keep putting stuff on him and, you know, he's always taking my stuff. He's never giving me stuff. And the friend twisted it as like, well, that's just not him being open in the relationship or whatever. And
that's
it's
his
like,
job.
Seems like he's just not giving you a bunch of burdens that fucking he has to himself. He's holding that shit in. But, you know, anyway, after that, we go back and the dude is in his apartment or whatever with his friends. And this is a weird, because he tells them that he invited Danny to go to the trip, or to go on the trip, but she's not going. And they were like, okay. And he's like, you know, she said she wanted to come, but she's not going. And so was he going to try to, like, ditch her somehow? Like, what was going on there?
I figured he assumed she wouldn't go. Like, he'd be like, hey, like, every time I'm like, hey, Tom, there's a random band that I like that you can't stand. Like, hey, this blah, blah, blah's coming to Savannah. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, we should go. And you're like, haha.
Yeah.
Anyways. And I'm like, thank God he didn't say, let's go.
Yeah. Well, the one time I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm bought tickets already.
There was something like that, like recent. And I was like, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's that new play. I was like, no. And then she just checked. So I was like, thank God.
Yeah. But anyway, then we get the you get the cringe of like her coming in, being like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And like no one talks, and then I think Mark is like chilling, and she goes, "Haha, nice," you know, like it's
Well, this is a weird part of the movie for me because they're sitting there, and you have no clue who these people are.
Yeah,
you've only seen them for a second, and there's a weird dynamic, and then the guy from Everything Else, Meet the Millers. Like later in this scene is like, hey, can you help me finish this paragraph?
Yeah.
And I'm like, do they work for him? Is there something like, I feel like this dude's like a big rich person or something.
I don't, well, I mean,
like he's got money or something. There's a reason they all like hang out with this guy, and it's not that they're friends. It's
well, he does
something really strange.
He does that, and I'm assuming they like go back there, and he's like, she, you know, and he's like, she isn't coming, or one of those things. But they never cut back to wherever they went. They just disappear for the rest of the scene.
And you imagine they'd have a disagreement about this lady coming, right?
Yeah.
But instead you get the creepy Swedish dude who's like, Fjorgen Borgen, here's a picture of a table.
Yeah, Josh like gets up and goes and like makes himself some coffee, and then Pele immediately leans over and he's like, "You want to see my family goat?" And like gives her a picture of the phone or whatever. And they're having like a nice little conversation. And then the dude messes it all up because he's like, "Ah, yeah, by the way, I'm sorry to hear about your fucking murdered family. I lost my parents too." And she's like, "What?" Like immediately. He's like, "Oh, sorry." And she's like, "You're fine. I just need to go to the bathroom." And we do get a pretty cool shot or transition where she opens up the bathroom door in the apartment and closes it, and it goes into like the bathroom in the plane or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, it's a cool little piece of film work right there. But she's in, so now they're on the plane to this village. She's like popping more pills in the bathroom. She comes back. They land. They get in the car. And once again, I think someone mentioned or someone says something, and like it kind of upsets the girl again or something. And so Christian's like, "How much longer do we got of a drive?" And Pele's like, 4 hours. And then we get Mark goes, "Oh my God." Like I said,
I feel it though. I feel it in my bones.
Yeah. So they get to like they're not in the village yet. They get to like the edge of the village where they have to get out of the car and then walk the rest of the way. And this is when he tells everyone that he's coming back from his trip out into the world like everyone does. I don't know if they stay out continuously or if they go for like a year and then come back and then go again or whatever. But as he shows up, he meets. Is this his brother, or is this just a friend? Okay.
He says his best friend since they were babies, but he introduces him as his brother. Okay. So I'm not quite sure.
All right. Well, I'll call him his brother because it doesn't really matter. The guy's not. But his brother is showing up at the same time, and his brother has brought friends back as well. These two English people. It's a couple. And then we get into some weird stuff where they ask how the couple had met. And the Swedish dude is like, "Well, actually, funny story. Me and this girl were dating before they even met or whatever." And she's like,
"We were together before them."
And yeah. And she's like, "We were just friends, And he's like, yeah,
Well, no, she says it was one date that I didn't even know was a date. And he goes,
"Yeah,
yes." And I'm like, "What?"
So part of me wonders if like that dude brought them there to kill them. You know what I mean? He's like, I think that's the whole
thing is that they're just bringing people. And they're
100%
like.
Yeah, I wondered if like that was their whole thing, but then like, did they just luck out with what happened with Danny and her family, or did they have some type of, did they control that and like set that whole thing in motion? You know what I mean?
You want my honest opinion?
Go ahead. Yeah, give me your.
I think it was in those tapestries and everything. I think it was foretold in the prophecy or whatever that they would go out and they would bring back, an outside. Because that's the thing. The whole thing is and it's a throwaway line in the movie when the guy asks about incest, and they're like, "We get new blood all the time," and it means they always just go out and they get someone to come in and do what the guy did. But the fact that on one of those
see any of those people around.
They found the May Queen or whatever. Yeah. It's just completely different. Like, it's a whole different thing. But
that was weird to me too. He shows her that picture and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's the last year's May Queen or whatever." But then like that lady never pops up in the movie to my knowledge. So it's like, well, what happened to last year's May Queen? Which then makes me wonder, well, what's gonna happen to Danny after this movie's over? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know. There was later the one girl who jumps off the cliff and kills herself. I thought watching it there was one where like the dude was 72 or whatever, and so I figured she was the same. But things I read seem to say that she was younger. But supposedly her and Danny looked alike. I didn't see it at all, and they were saying that the look she gave Danny when she was jumping was she was jumping to clear room for Danny, and I was like, I don't think that's what happened, but I read that, so that might be a thing
It
too. So I
makes
don't know if maybe
sense.
that was the May Queen lady.
But there's weird stuff later on that happens that just makes no sense.
Yeah.
And you know how much I hate that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the only reason I didn't give the movie a better rating is like I think at the core there's a lot of good and they could have done away with a good bit of it.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of shit that
Movie.
is never expounded on. Like
Yeah.
how we want to say this? The deformed, possibly
The
Down syndrome kid.
mutants, like
Yeah.
the weirdest fucking. Yeah, basically, by the way, spoiler. Apparently, this pagan village lives their whole life based off of drawings and like prophecies that this mutant kid just not this one, like it's been generations because it's all just incestual breeding, and so they keep the bloodline pure, as they say. The fucking dude's like Humperdew from goddamn Preacher, where they're
But the
like, this is
question
the
is
Messiah.
like, and calling them drawings is being very.
It's just
It is literally finger paintings, and they all end up just looking brown because it's just shit thrown on a paper. Not
Yeah.
literal shit, but.
You never know.
And it was like, what?
Also,
What
I'm
a
pretty sure
punk?
it was a female as well.
I don't know. They all dressed in hermaphrodite clothing, so you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
tell, something about the gods or something.
Something like
They
that.
say why, but I was like, this is weird. But it makes no sense, and it's like I understand that girl killing herself to make room for homegirl,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy killing himself, but then later they killed 9 more dudes off.
Yeah. And then there's a weird thing where, so when I looked up this movie before I started, it said 2 hours and 51 minutes. And I was like, fuck me. This thing's 3 hours long. Ends up being the version I think me and you both watched. It's only like 2.5. Like, it's only like 2:30.
237. Yeah.
Which is still way longer than it should have been, but it wasn't 2:51. Apparently, there's deleted scenes of them sacrificing. Apparently, there's sacrifices all over this place. They're like gonna drown a little boy at one point, and the whole thing was what they had him dressed as is the same stuff that the English chick is dressed as later when she's in the wheelbarrow. So they're like, that must be how she died, and all this stuff. But yeah, so apparently they're just doing these sacrifice shits all the time, but they don't talk about it.
I don't. This is after Hereditary, right?
Yeah.
But before Lighthouse.
Same year as Lighthouse. I don't know if they were which one came first.
I'm just trying to think of maybe dude didn't have worked out in his contract that like don't fuck with my movie. I'm gonna make this weird shit.
Uh-huh.
Just let it go. Or he could have edited it himself, right?
Yeah.
Not sure, but because there's a lot of stuff in this movie that just didn't really make sense. But you're like, oh, okay, But
The way a movie like this is because then they just keep feeding everybody shrooms and shit. So it's almost like anytime there's something that doesn't make sense, they're on drugs. You know what I mean? Which I guess that's a fun loophole. If you're gonna have any loophole, might as well just be they're addicted to drugs. Well, not addicted.
well, not addicted. Yeah, they're just constantly kept high.
Yeah, the first time they introduce is when the Swedish dude shows up, the brother or whatever, with the English people, and he has a bag of shrooms. And immediately Mark is like, cool, fucking party or whatever. And so he's immediately going to chomp down on him. But Danny wants to get more acclimated with everything and, settle in. And so the boyfriend, once again, is like, all right, I'll wait for you, And she's like, oh, you don't need to, But he's like, no, So he tells them, hey, I'll I'm going to wait for Danny. But Mark is like, well, you can't do that because we'll be on separate trips. And so the dude is like, well, you guys could wait for us, And then Danny, who doesn't want to, keep them from doing is like, I'll just take them now. I will say, I did find something, which the guy has an excuse for it because everyone eats them except for Danny. Danny drinks this tea that they give her and only her. That the dude says, we got tea that tastes better if you want that. But I did find that she's the only one that drank the tea and it makes me wonder if like they put something extra in the tea to like get things going. Um, but so everyone eats them, which is a terrible idea. If you don't want to take shrooms because you're worried you'll have a bad trip, and then you are forced into eating them anyway, it's not gonna not gonna be good. Um, they eat all this shit. This is when we get the scene of Mark looking up at the sky and being like, "What time is it?" The guy's like 9 o'clock. He's like, "But the sky's still blue. I don't like that, man." And he's like, "Everyone lay down with me, guys." And I was like, "Man, this guy is fucking terrible in this movie." Uh, he's doing this, and Homegirl is trying her best to have a good trip, where she's like breathing with the air, and she looks down, there's grass in her hand and all this shit. But
growing
anyway,
out of her hand.
yeah.
So I know this guy once, right? And he took a bunch of shrooms, and he literally thought that he saw a duck walking around quacking at him, and he started freaking out and everything.
It was just a duck, man.
So I understand that people have different reactions to this kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I think being somewhere, and especially jet lagged, right, where your mind is telling you, "Hey, it's 10:30 at night."
Yeah.
But it's so bright outside and everything, it looks like day.
Yeah.
I understand that. I get it. Like it makes sense to me.
I'm not saying like it doesn't make sense that this guy's freaking out. That makes sense. I just don't think he was acting very good when he was doing it. If that makes sense.
No, this wasn't the role for him.
No.
Like the black guy had a weird cadence with the way he talked too, to where I was like, they should have just found someone else.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna say this right now.
Okay.
This is like a Swedish movie, whatever.
Okay.
Or not, it's an American movie, but it's in wherever.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's a black guy there and no one acts any differently or anything like that kind of threw me for a loop, because I feel like these people were brought just to be sacrificed as one of the 9, you know? And no one brought it up. No one mentions it. No one says anything. And I'm just like, this is kind of weird.
It's like movies where Americans go to Japan and they don't have little kids running around like doing this at them.
Yeah, same.
It's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. Is everyone? It's mostly wrestlers who talk about going to Japan. They always, every time they're there, little kids always run around at them and open their eyes wide and shit and make fun of them. And they talk about it like it's the only time they're ever like being racially discriminated against, because most of them are white or whatever. And then it's extra if it's like a black dude, because he's getting both, where they're like, "What's going on?" You know. So, Japan. Yeah, so like I said, Homegirl is trying her best to like get in like the trees or like and moving, and you can see like the colors moving off of the trees, and she's keeping her breathing steady. And then all of a sudden,
well, can I interrupt?
Okay.
Before you do all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So she has all this trauma and stuff in her life, right?
Yeah.
So do you think she's trying not to think? Like, you know what I'm saying? She's trying to like be in the moment with the nature.
Yeah.
And just have everything on the outside and be like, if I think about my life at all, this shit comes crumbling apart. And then this guy's like freaking out next to her. It's kind of like when you feel sick and then someone's throwing up.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God.
Look at it. It's going to get you. And you got to be like,
yeah.
So, anyways.
And so, like I said, she's like doing all right. And then I want to say it was Mark who says it. But he's like, "Man, you guys are like my family." And then immediately she's like, It's like all the memes of like, if you're fighting Batman, you're like, "At least I have parents." He's like, "What do you mean?" And she just instantly starts freaking out. And so she gets up and she's like rubbing her face. And she's like, "I just need to take a walk," right? So she goes walking through this field. And then all these people who were sitting in a circle turn to her and just start laughing at her. Which that's not good. I knew a guy who had some shrooms and then watched a video, and in the video this guy started laughing, but he was looking at the camera, and so it was like he was laughing at him, and it was really scary. So he turned it off and just stared at his curtains for 4 hours.
Was this also you, or
It was, believe it or not, it was me. That dude scared the shit out of me. I was like,
I
oh,
don't remember. It was SpongeBob. What was it?
Adventure Time. And the
Yes,
first
Adventure Time.
episode, the candy people come back as zombies. And I was like, oh my god. Yeah. And so I just looked at my curtain. They were breathing for 4 hours, and I heard ducks and seagulls and shit. It was nice. Anyway, so then she does possibly the worst thing you could ever do, which is she goes into a pitch dark shack that's just in the middle of this field and lights a match that I guess she had, and looks at herself in the mirror. Which, first off, if you know anything about psychedelics, that's like a no-no. Even though I think everyone does it.
Everyone does it. Yeah.
And you get lost in that shit. But yeah, she's in a pitch dark room with just a match and looking at herself in the mirror. And then as it lights up, you get a brief flash in the back of her sister behind her with the tube in her mouth or whatever. And she's like, huh? And she looks back, but she doesn't see it. And then she looks back at the mirror, and I guess it's because her face is all malformed looking in the mirror that's what causes her to just run out and like start freaking out or whatever. So she runs out, she's screaming and shit, and eventually she ends up like passing out, and they find her the next morning. After that, they get to the village the next day. People walking around playing flutes and shit. This is what, like we're introduced to, I don't know if he was in charge of the whole village, but, he like greets Pele and everyone. I think, is that his dad, their dad, I think? Do they mention the family? Oh no, his fucking family's dead. My bad, yeah. But yeah, they get introduced to everybody, they hand around these drinks and shit, and they're starting off Midsommar with this big toast they have. This is when we get our first look at that mutant chick that we talked about, who's over there painting, and she's like, just looking at shit going on. They start dancing around. This one chick is making eyes at Christian, and immediately he's like, can anyone, get in or whatever? And they're like, yeah. So he gets up and goes to join, and then Josh gets up, like Josh was waiting for someone else to go, and then the second he was like, oh boy, he went running over too. And they join in on this whole fucking circle dance thing. As they leave, Pele, who's sitting next to Danny, gives her a drawing of herself because it's her birthday, and he's like, oh, happy birthday. And then she's like, Christian didn't remember. And he's like, oh, really? And so once you're supposed to know, this guy doesn't even remember birthdays. And then it's like,
I think I just had a problem remembering time.
Yeah.
He didn't know the anniversary.
That's,
he was like 3.5.
Yeah, after, I do like, because they're walking with the English couple, and this is when the dude's saying how they met and how they were dating. And she's like, we went on the one date. But they're like, oh yeah, we're actually engaged now. And Danny and them are like, oh my God. And literally you can see Christian go, oh my God. Yeah. And and so they're like, well, how long have you guys been together? And Danny's thinking about for a minute, and then Christian's like, 3.5 years. And she's like, no, 4 years. It's gonna be 4 years in like a week or something or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess it is. Sorry or whatever. So, once again, it's like this guy doesn't even remember anniversaries. As they keep walking, they see this piece of art that they're like, "What's that?" And Pele's like, "We can go check it out." And it's this like painting thing that tells like this story of this lady who will put some menstrual blood in her drink and give it to this dude, and she chops off like her pubes and puts it in his food and shit, and then you see the guy's like brainwashed and shit, and it's like a love
the
spell.
squiggly eyes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there a scene in The Wicker Man of dude drinking like some period blood that you didn't know about?
Yeah, probably. I saw it somewhere before this.
I know that we've watched a movie where that has happened, and I can't remember if that was it. But yeah, and so
It was an audition, was it? What else we watch had a crazy woman in it? Life, am I right? No.
um,
Sorry, guys.
it might have been Audition. I don't know. There was a lot of nasty shit in Audition, but I don't remember if that was in there. I can't remember. Maybe it was Antichrist, but that doesn't. I don't know. But we've definitely watched another movie where that's happened. This is when Pele, after this, tells them the ages, like I said, where he says, so 18 to 36, you go out into the world, do shit or whatever. Like I said, I don't know if that's continuously or if you come back for a little bit and go out again. 36 to 54, you work, your working age. 54 to 72, you become a mentor. And then Danny asks, well, what happens at 72? And Pele goes, like that, like makes it, and she's like, ha ha ha. And I was like, this ain't no joke, bitch.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you find a problem with this?
I honestly don't, not at all, and especially later. The way dude like describes it, he's like, this is just a part of our culture. He's like, people get old and they get sick and they have painful deaths, and 72, you've like, you're not old where you're like broken down unless like something, and he's like, it's just your time to go. That's the way it's always been. And to me, I'm like, this is these people's culture. Like, I see no problem with what they were doing. I don't know if maybe we're in the minority.
You don't so much now. Well, I guess you still kind of do, but when you work with people for your job, whatever, 100% people treat old people like shit. Like, if I take time out of my day to help an old person, they act like I fucking invented electricity.
Yeah. Well, also, I think it's a thing where, like, people don't like to look at old people because it's been like, oh, yeah, that's going to be fucking me. You know what I mean? It's like, just put it out of your mind. Stay away from them. They smell weird.
Well, like, the way that people treat like you're saying? So, like, imagine if, like, your last 20 years, you're just a mentor, you helped, like, whatever. And you knew your end was coming. I gotta say, I think they gotta figure it out.
Yeah, right?
I mean, don't get me wrong, we frown upon, suicide or whatever you want to call it.
I've always thought that was weird as well.
But, like...
we won't get into the suicide talk, though.
When you want to go out on your own terms, like, this...
My thing is, it, like, do you have to do the same death? Could I pick the way I want to die? You know what I mean? Like... I don't know. I wonder if it has to be, you have to jump off the cliff.
Every way people died in this was horrible except for the parents.
Well, how about... Yeah, the parents had, like, what most people, I think, would say is their ideal death. Yeah, just to go in your sleep. How about the one guy who... I mean, he's dead by the end of the movie, but who, when you find him, he's not dead. like, that's kind of... I'm talking,
what guy?
The English dude who's
he's not
stringed up as an angel. No, his lungs are breathing and shit.
Oh, it might just be the drugs, because that whole scene through that was like, everything was moving and quivering and breathing.
When I was looking it up, they talk about how that's like an old thing they used to do, a Viking like thing, and apparently like that was a thing where like if you did it right, people would still be alive by the end of it. So it'd be like full on torture type shit, and they say that it looks like he's still breathing air, and then so I mean that's kind of fucked up. But yeah, so as they're
just all the way around the movie,
as they're leaving this room, Danny sees Pele talking to Christian in the corner, and then the very next scene is like him coming up with this piece of bundt cake that he put like a single candle in. He's like, happy birthday. And we have to watch the whole scene of him singing the whole happy birthday song, trying to light this candle, and it's not working. And he's like, and he's like, what, you thought I forgot? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, I did, I'm sorry. Like, but yeah, he's like, I forgot, dealing with shit or whatever. So he tries to make it up with her for the cake or whatever. Yeah.
if we ever go on a trip out of the country, God forbid, to halfway across the globe,
Yeah.
it'll be fun. It'll be great. All fucking social norms are over, right? I'm
Yeah.
not telling you happy birthday. I'm not saying, hey,
Yeah, right. Like we're celebrating your
sorry,
birthday
this
with
is
a
when
trip.
yeah. It's like I'm not anything that happens. Hey, I'm sorry, your cat died. No, none of that shit's gonna be mentioned.
Yeah.
Because we are on vacation. We are not out here like this isn't fucking a Tuesday, right? This is a vacation Tuesday.
Anyways. But yeah, so yeah, he tries to make it up to her, but she's kind of like, the next day they start off with this big ass feast, and they have these two old fuckers sit at the head of the table, a boy and a girl, like I said. And this is when Josh leans over and asks Pele, "Are those the ones?" And he's like, "Yeah." And Josh is like, "Who?" Yeah. And so I was like, "Oh, Josh knows what's happening." I don't think I picked up on that the first time watching it, which it makes sense, if he's here doing, you would think he already has some general idea. Like he's asking questions about stuff that he knows about and shit. So it makes sense that he knows this. They eat lunch, and after lunch, the two old people stand up, and they get put on these carts. The night before this, by the way, is when they knew what was, and Josh was like, "It's a big day tomorrow," and they were like, "What's up?" And he's like, "I don't know." Yeah. So they get up to leave. They put the old people on like pedestals and they carry them. Mark, the only thing I like about Mark the whole movie is, keep in mind for right here, he's like, "I'm pretty beat. I'm gonna go take a nap." So he like leaves and goes takes a nap. Everyone follows the old people and shit, and they stay down at the bottom of this cliff, and they're kind of like, what's going, I don't think it would have taken me this long to figure out, oh, these people are going to jump off, but maybe it's one of the things where it's so like out of the realm of possibility of what you think is going to happen, like it just wouldn't dawn on you. But it literally isn't until the lady gets onto the edge of the cliff and makes eye contact with like Danny, or supposedly, who knows if they really did, but that's the way the camera made it look. That I think they realize what's about to happen. And then this lady just spread eagle, falls, and just thud straight down on the ground. You get a close-up of like her face just exploding on impact or whatever. And she dies, which is good on her. The two English people start freaking out. They're like, what the fuck is going on? The pagan people are like looking at them like, what are they doing? What's their deal? The guy who brought them is trying to like talk them down or whatever. And he's like, "I'm sorry, I should have told you." Once again, kind of fucked up that these guys didn't give them a clue. But whatever. And then the old dude gets up there, and he just steps off and goes leg first. First off, this cliff isn't really that big of a cliff anyway. Like, to die, you really need to do like what that girl did, or like swan dive and head first or whatever. So he just walks off. And we see his legs are shattered, but he's like, still alive and shit. And this is our first instance of where everyone starts screaming with him, like they're connected to him and shit. And so then they take this mallet and they walk over to him. They don't hurry up either, like kind of dick move that they would just take so long getting over there. And then eventually they fucking whack him a couple times in the head and kill him too. And
I have a question.
Yeah.
So later on in the movie, there's two other guys who choose to kill themselves, and they give them this like medicine from the yew tree. Like from the
you
yew
won't
tree,
feel any pain.
Yeah. That spoiler. I think they still.
I think they felt some. Yeah.
Spoiler. Yeah. Would you not give that to these people who are about to jump off of a cliff?
Maybe. I guess they just think they're gonna hit him.
Well, no, they wouldn't have the fucking Hammer Brothers down there.
If this hasn't happened before,
Yeah, so it's like, hey, you know what? Also, let's spare a little bit of the sap or whatever the it is.
How would you like to be, because those two guys are told, hey, no pain, right? And they're like looking at each other. How would you like to be the one who watched the other one catch on fire first? Be like, hey, wait a minute. Yeah. I
would just be screaming. I'd be like, 2 out of 5 stars. Would not do it again. I'd be like running in circles in the building.
Anyway. So yeah, after that, the English couple is going to leave. They're over this. This is why I said the only thing I let Mark, he comes out and he goes, man, of all the things you guys let me sleep through. And that's totally something I would do. Like, you guys let me miss miss that, you know? And they like give him a look, and he's like, "What?" You know?
It's equally ironic because Tom watches videos like that for fun every day.
Not, maybe it's just curiosity.
Curiosity, you search them out, but let's. So that's how fucked up we are, right?
Yeah.
If you were there for this, what would you do?
I'll probably be like, "Damn, that's crazy," but yeah, I don't see myself being like, "What?" You know?
I can honestly say neither of us would object. Neither of us would
Yeah.
cause a thing.
We'd be
We'd
like, "Cool,
that was
man."
like crazy,
Yeah.
yo.
It's like you guys do
Shit,
this
yo.
every time.
Yeah, it's like,
I gotta come back more often.
yeah, you'd be like, is there a form I can sign?
Can
Like,
I
how do
use the
get it
mallet?
Can I take a selfie with the kid?
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, pretend like you hit me in
It's
the head.
the dude.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's hammer time. We put it
Yeah.
on face. It'd be nice.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that most people were like, what the I saw it coming, right? You
Yeah,
have to. You see
yeah.
Cliff, you know it's coming.
Yeah, my mind
And I'm gonna be
instantly is like,
honest.
jump. Like, that's what's happening.
The lady, the main Danny,
Uh-huh.
like, didn't take it badly. She just watched. Everything was
Yeah.
cool.
I don't
After
think
she
Christian did that
flipped
bad
out.
either. But yeah, she was leaving too. This is when Pele's trying to, you know, like, this is just part of the culture, you know, this is what happens. Weirdly enough, this seems to convince Christian I haven't got Christian this whole time. He hasn't started working on a thesis yet. He doesn't know what he's gonna do. And this is the only time I even felt a bit like, because this guy's kind of a lazy, I guess is what they're putting. And so he's just kind of leech on Josh and work with Josh on his thesis. So somehow the suicide has convinced him that he's going to do a thesis on the same place. So he tells Josh, hey, I'm going to work on this place too. Maybe we can share notes. And Josh like freaks out on him. He's like, this is just you're dipping your toe into this. This is like stuff I'm interested in, stuff I've like, looked at. For a moment, I thought Josh was going to like come live here. Like, this is where he planned he planned to be one of these people. But
see, that's the first moment I thought dude was an asshole.
yeah, that's the only time I was like, well, not the only time. I guess later when they're asking where the book is. He's like, listen, if it was Josh, we're not his friends. We're not, even though, like I said, Josh is kind of a prick the whole movie, but still, it seems like that dude's kind of shallow doing that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Nowhere,
Once
too,
again, maybe
right?
that's a dude thing. Where like all the stuff with the girlfriend, we're like, but the second he does like something to the bros, we're like, oh, this guy's kind of a piece of shit.
Well, let's really think about it. The whole movie, what does he do bad about to her or whatever?
I don't think he does anything bad to her.
He dismisses the sisters like cry for help.
Yeah, but to be fair,
But
apparently
I would've done the same exact thing.
Yeah, she's been doing
many
it.
times.
Like I said, this dude's just in a relationship that he should have left like he's not committed to it. So the only thing he's guilty of is just stringing her along and making them both miserable at the same time. But like the dude never once that I think was like a piece of shit to her. You know, he just wasn't into it.
I would say that he is a decent boyfriend and an okay human being.
Yeah, like he tries to like
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Danny's packing up. The Swedish dude tells her that, he knows what she's going through because he lost his parents, in a fire, and but he still had the community, and the community was his family, and these people held him up and shit. And basically, he's kind of trying to be like, I lost my family, but I still had people who treated me as their own. And he's like, do you have that? I think he's like, this Christian hold you up or whatever, and so he's once again.
I just realized something.
Yeah.
So he said he lost his family in a fire, right?
Uh-huh.
So did they?
Yeah, they were in the fucking the temple.
Did they give themselves up for?
They just might have, because it's like where
they had to.
Yeah, where else would they have had a fire?
Yeah.
I mean? Yeah.
It's I think we just figured
We
something out.
cracked the fucking code.
Doesn't make any more sense, but
Yeah, like, oh, it's kind of dick move on their part to leave their child, and, but whatever. Um, that I guess Danny decides to stay, or she can't leave that night or something, because that night she has a nightmare, where who was
wild nightmare.
yeah, who was it driving the car? Was it the sister, or
I
was the
guess
sister in the back looking out at her?
I thought that was Mark.
I thought it was the mom or something, but yeah, I don't either way. It's like her friend's driving in the car. That's the car from the garage, and they're driving away from her, and the blue lights are flashing, and she tries to scream for them, but just exhaust fumes come out of her mouth or whatever, and then she like wakes up. But yeah, I couldn't. I was like, was that the sister driving? But I don't think. I think it was just like one of the dudes driving. So, yeah, I don't know. Um, the back in the real world, that chick who was dancing and giving Christian those eyes, where he got up to go join her, she wakes up and she grabs this medallion thing and puts it underneath Christian's bed and goes back to her bed. Josh is awake this whole time and he's like peeking at her through one eye. So the next day he's taken the medallion and is asking Pele what this is. And he says, "Oh, it's a love spell, you know." And so that's where we're like, "Oh, this girl's putting love spells under dude's bed, you know." They're talking about that some more, and then they start hearing a villager dude freak out, and they look over, and he is charging at Mark, who is peeing on a tree. Apparently, this is like their ancestral tree. That I guess maybe they spread their ashes over or something, because the dude's like, "You're pissing on my family" or some shit. So I don't know if they physically like dump ashes on that tree or if that's just like a symbol of their people. But either way, Mark pisses on it and makes dude real upset.
He's real mad.
Yeah. And like he's trying to fight him, and then he just like falls down crying. Like it really upset him. So what's up?
I don't understand. Like that's something I would do, and then I would argue.
Yeah,
After
you're like,
I
why you
did.
have the fucking tree?
Yeah, I was like, why is it here? You got all
Yeah.
these houses with nothing fucking in them.
Yeah.
Put the tree there. Let me
Yeah.
take a piss. Jeez.
Um,
But I'm an ass. So.
But yeah, so they take Mark away. They're like, oh, just give him some bread. So they like get him away from that guy. The English chick is all packed and ready to go, but one of the pagan villager dudes comes up to her and says that her boyfriend went in the truck with one of the dudes and he's gonna meet her at the train station. But she's like, why would he leave without me? And he's like, well, there's only 2 seats in the truck. And she's like, well, I could have sat on his lap. And he's like, yeah, but that's breaking, the
We follow
laws.
traffic
Yeah.
laws. Yeah.
So she's like, something doesn't seem right, Also, for some, this really upsets Danny, because she goes around, she's like, can you believe he left without her and shit? And they're like, oh yeah, it's kind of a dick move, Back inside this temple place of worship, we get a look at this book that they live their life by. That we didn't know this earlier, but it ends up being the book that we saw that mutant kid painting in earlier. And this is like
mutant kid. Jesus.
This is like their way of life, how they live their life. And it's been written through the ages. It has empty pages still to come because it's an ever expanding. Like they have a library full of books of how they've lived their life. And Josh is like asking dude questions about it because about his thesis and shit. And this is what we learned that the mutant kid did it, and he's pure blood. They've kept him, it's incestual breeding. And they say like his mind isn't clouded by, like he's like clear mind. He's able to connect with stuff beyond us and shit. The fucking Josh is like, oh, cool. Can I take a picture of it? And the dude's like, what?
No.
Yeah.
First he goes, can I read it? He goes, you wouldn't understand it, or whatever. He says in Swedish, whatever. And he goes, oh, okay. And then later he's like, can I take a picture of it? And they're like, no.
Yeah. They're like, no, not at all. So Josh is like, oh, that kind of sucks. And then we hear off in the distance a scream of a woman. And you're like, oh, what's that? And then it pans over to Danny, who's outside doing like chores, and she hears the scream as well. And you're like, oh, that's kind of weird. Spoiler, that was probably that English chick get drowned, supposedly, where that's what people seem to think. The people grabbing her and going to kill her. Or it could have been her finding her boyfriend in that shack, strung up and shit. But either way, she doesn't turn out good.
Yeah, you never see her again anyway. So.
Yeah, Danny is asking if anyone has seen her like the next day, or no, this is at dinner later. And Mark is like, "Oh, I saw her practicing sprinting for the Olympics earlier." And she's like, yeah. And she's like, what? Where? And before he can get further into it, one of the villager dudes is like, oh, hey, sorry. She went.
I know exactly what happened. And it was a dude you've never seen in the movie before.
Yeah.
And I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah. And he's like, oh, she met up with her boyfriend at the train station or whatever. They went to leave or whatever. And once again, Danny's still like, why would he leave before her? And I don't remember what Christian says, but whatever he says, once again, Danny seems like a bigger piece of shit in the scene than he does, because she's like, seems like something you would do. And I was like, why? This dude has been, I guess he was going to go on this trip without telling her. But for everything else, he's been like there for her. And he's like, what did you say? And she like won't answer him. And then Josh is like, oh man, have you gotten any notes on the book of whatever? And then dude, who's already mad because of what Danny just said, is like, oh, now you want to collaborate? I thought you didn't want to share. And Josh's like, fine. Yeah. I didn't think Christian was in the wrong in any of these conversations, But anyway, they get handed these meat pie things and their drinks. If you notice, once again, Christian's drink is redder than everybody else's. That's kind of weird. And then he bites into his meat pie, and he gets a hair in his mouth. And this is what I thought was weird, is because not only is it a hair, but Mark immediately calls out as a pubic hair. And it's just, I've never eaten a hair, and first off, examined it long enough to be like, that's, But, I've could have had pubes in my mouth at some point. I'm just like, it's hair, But it's just fun that Mark knew exactly. He's like, that's a fucking pubic hair. But, yeah. And he's like, no, I'm sure it's just a hair, And so he puts it down, and then he, like, looks over, and that girl from before is, like, staring directly at him. Yeah, and he's like, oh, weird. Also, sorry. They see the pube, and then Josh immediately opens up his little nerd book of notes. And he starts flipping through them and shit. And he has a page written down.
How was it that solved the thing? It had to be her, right? It was Danny?
I guess so.
Someone literally went and solved all the posters that was like, hey, this is what you got to do to get a man or whatever. So when someone gets pubes in their food, why didn't she not make the connection right now?
Like, hey, wait a minute. I don't know.
I've seen this somewhere.
Yeah.
Why is your drink different?
That night they're going to sleep. Danny keeps stealing Josh's sleeping pills to go to sleep. Remember when there was a baby crying for like 2 nights straight?
Yes.
And then the baby never popped up again, and you never hear him again? Did they kill that baby? I'm just now thinking about that baby.
Nah, he grew up.
He got strong.
Yeah.
Anyway, shout out to that baby. As they're going to sleep, though, we see that Josh is sleeping with his tennis shoes on. And you're like, oh. So in the middle of the night, he runs over to that temple place and sneaks in and starts snapping photos of the book. In front of him is a mirror that I kind of think was a 2-way mirror for some reason. But I'm not sure. It could have just been a mirror. But the mirror's in front of him. And as he is taking pictures, he sees someone walking up behind him. And he's like, oh, shit. And he turns around, but it's Mark. Now,
naked.
Yeah. Now, at that dinner they had,
right?
Where dude had the pube in his thing, Mark got pulled away by this girl who was like, I'll show you. And he's like, oh, she's going to go show me. So that's the last time you had seen him, right? So dude's like, Mark, close the door. We're not supposed to be in here. And then as he gets closer, we see that it's not Mark, but it's someone wearing Mark's fucking face.
And then he's,
Yeah.
like it's the chainsaw.
I couldn't tell there, but upon reading, that is the guy who got all mad because he pissed on the tree. That is him wearing the face, yeah. As he looks, though, he then gets hit in the back of the head with that mallet. And he's twitching real good on the ground and shit.
Yeah, it's making noises.
Yeah. The guy who killed him, by the way.
Like that, but there's noises.
The guy who killed him was Pele, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, and also, you probably noticed, but as he turns around, you can see someone standing in the corner. If you pause it, it's Pele standing there. And so Pele is the one that, and it's like confirmed that Pele is the one that killed him and shit. Yeah, so Pele kills him. Also, the mutant child dude has been sleeping in the corner of the room the whole time. So, like, yeah, it was just, I guess that's where he stays. Hold on. All right. But yeah,
it was
so
really weird with that because once they hit the dude in the head with a hammer and he's like laying on the ground and he's having trouble breathing and he's making noises, like somehow his lungs collapse even though he got hit in the head with a hammer.
Yeah.
They do that instant drag him away thing that's like real creepy.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? This doesn't seem like that kind of move. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so Josh is dead. That morning at breakfast, they tell everyone that the book is missing. And they're like, we won't
Great cover story, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking... These guys are next level.
Yeah. They're like, we won't keep tabs, or we won't keep eyes on the temple. Just return the book, and everything will be all right. After that is when they come up to Danny and them, and they're like, hey, this is, it doesn't look good for your friends. They disappeared in the night. The book is gone. And this is when Josh, or Christian's like, listen, if it was Josh, he's kind of a piece of shit. He'll do that. And Danny's giving him a look like, what? Even though Josh, besides supplying her with drugs at the night, has never been kind to her at all. But, whatever. So he's like, I'd be ashamed if we were part of such an act, After that, they get carried off into their different things. She goes with girls, and then he gets taken into a room with an elderly woman who has she seemed like a main chick in this whole movie.
Well, you had the elderly woman at the group suicide.
Yeah,
but this wasn't the same lady, right?
No, it was a different lady.
And I think this is Pele's mom.
Hey.
Even though he doesn't, because she goes in and she's like, my daughter has taken a fancy to you. And he says
chosen
that,
you as the one. Yeah.
That's his sister who had something where she could have sex now or something.
Yeah.
So I don't understand if they talk about family as like everybody.
Maybe. And this is also, he's like, I think I ate one of her pubes, and the elder lady's like, that sounds about right.
Yeah, real awkward.
Yeah. So they're doing this dance in the middle, and they're giving everyone this water that it looks real weird, but but you're just drinking or whatever. Later, as they give a cup to Christian, he asks what's in the water, and basically it's like shroom water. It's like a trip water, and he's like, I think I'll have a bad trip. I don't want to. But they're like, no, you'll be fine. So he just downs it and he's like, drinks it. Danny is in the middle of this dance, and she's dancing. She's tripping hard, and they just keep going. This is when I've forgotten that this was a thing, but the way the May Queen is decided is they have this dance competition, and basically the last person standing is the May Queen. So everyone else danced themselves to exhaustion, and eventually she's the last person standing, and they're like, congratulations, you win. And they come and they give her this crown of flowers, and they put her on this pedestal. Also, before they do that, Pele walks up to her and fucking Frenches her out of nowhere. He's like, the May Queen, congrats. And so that's cool. As they're carrying on that platform, that's when we see the sister's face in the trees as they walk by it.
Are you skipping by the 30 minutes of them dancing?
I am.
Okay.
They literally, it is on the two main characters do not say a word in the last 25 minutes of this movie. It is just
There's a
all
weird part in the
actions.
dancing where all of a sudden she speaks Swedish
Yeah,
or whatever the Swedes speak,
yeah.
and she's like, I can't speak. It's reminding me of that's fucking Always Sunny.
Always Sunny, where he's like,
Where
oh
he's
no,
like,
I
I
can
don't
just read
speak
it. Yeah.
he's
Like,
"Oh, I don't speak it." He goes,
blah, blah.
yeah, but he's like, you're speaking it now. He goes, am I? He goes, yeah. He goes, oh.
He goes, yeah. Oh shit.
I was like, what? What's going on?
Yeah. They get to the table and Danny is at the head of the table. She's the May Queen, so she like sits down and everyone starts eating and shit. And then Christian is tripping hard, and he turns to this old dude next to him and goes, "Excuse me, what's going on?" And the dude goes, it just claps in his face, and he goes, "Why did you do that?" He's like, it was so funny, that dude clapping in his face, and it like warps, like you can see it, like the waves of it coming off and shit.
This whole scene is so fucking trippy because like the flowers in her hair are moving
Yeah.
and closing and opening. The fucking meat on the table is breathing. Like,
Yeah.
so much weird shit going on. I literally had to pause the movie, and I was like,
Yeah.
flashback?
You were
What
like,
is
"Am
this?"
I on drugs?"
Yeah,
You know
I was
where
like,
they say, like,
I went
if you
and started
take,
reading articles and stuff.
yeah, you know where they say, like, if you take acid, like, randomly, like 2 years from then, you'll get a second, like, it'll come back on or something.
Yeah, it's never happened. I've been
Yeah,
waiting.
I'm sure it's, yeah.
Like, because people tell you that as like it's scary, right? But for
Yeah.
me, I'm like, that's a BOGO, baby.
Yeah, it's a
That's buy
norm-
one get one free.
A norm
You know?
joke. He's like, "You're telling me I can get high now, and in 2 years I can get high again?" He's like, yeah. And then he's like, "I've been waiting for 30 years. I haven't." Did you see that one I sent you where he's like,
Captain-
"Oh, wait a minute, Captain Spirit is a fucking horse." I was like, "Oh shit." I'll have to play it here because no one would understand what we were talking about.
Oh no, Jesus Christ. Captain Steve. Captain Steve died 16 years old. Beautiful kid. Captain Steve, he won the Dubai World Cup. Captain Steve, dead of heart failure. Huh, wait a minute. Oh, Captain Steve's a fucking horse.
After that, once again, they take the girl, put her on the plate. They're giving her like this flower dress and shit. They take the boyfriend and get him into this robe and everything, and then they move him into this temple where he walks in, and there's a bunch of naked bitches standing in a circle, and in the middle is that one bitch who's been giving him eyes the whole time, and she like spreads her legs open, and then they come and they take off the dude's robe, and they make them go over and start fucking. And all the girls start moaning in unison. That mutant kid is watching as well, which, kind of weird, but whatever. They're banging. Danny and them eventually get back from where they were, and she can hear something going on. She's like, "What's going on over there?" And they're like, "You don't need to look." But of course she does. And so she sees her boyfriend, which, to be fair, he's brainwashed at this point. That's the excuse I'm giving them. Banging this chick in the circle of all these ladies. And so so she runs away, starts crying and stuff. This is when you get the scene with the girls crying with her, and they're like, "Ah, ah," and so they're holding her, and they're connected to get together. Eventually dude drops his load. And basically this whole they're just using him to get to breed, as she's getting a new baby, and this is how they bring in these outsiders somehow, like the guy said, and now this chick is knocked up. Dude, I guess, has a moment where he snaps out of it after this, and he goes running. And I love the fact that even as he's running and like afraid for his life and doesn't know what, it's just a dude reaction to like hold your junk so no one can see it. Like at this point, I feel like you would just be running dick flop, like you wouldn't care. But
I know you're gonna yell at me for this, but in our DNA, in our primate DNA, the first thing that animals go for is the dick.
Yeah.
So that's why in situations like that, you always protect your junk first. Is because it's in your DNA from when you're a monkey,
Yeah. All right.
So, but Plus,
The more
he be
you know.
flopping around. I don't really have that problem.
I know, right? Also, how's
Okay.
it? We watched that whole X movie. A very lack of dong. In this movie, the movie you wouldn't really expect it. You just getting dong flopping around and shit. Um, hey, this is he's 2 for 2 on dong. This guy. The other movie, he had old people dong at the end. Um, yeah, so dude runs away. He goes into that shack, and this is when he finds that English dude who disappeared earlier, strung up like an angel, and his back has been skinned open, so it looks like wings. And this is you see his lungs still breathing. Apparently, it's like an ancient form of torture. That's
It's
a
called
thing.
being flayed.
Well, not I know flake anyway. Um, he's like he's like still tripping, so he like gets under the guy, and the guy has like sunflower type things in his eyes. He like looks at the guy, and then he goes to leave, and this old dude's there, and he blows some fucking angel dust in his face, and the dude passes out.
They're all, and it's really weird because I want to know what that dust was because it fucking keeps him paralyzed for like 9 days.
Because he is out of it. He's in a wheelchair. He's like Stephen Hawking. They're just taking him around, and he can't move. He can't talk. And then we get this kind of dark comedy scene where like this elder dude is teaching the kids how to like skin a bear and shit. And so it's like this life lesson. But meanwhile, what you'll learn is the plan is they stuff dude into this skinned bear. So they're just teaching the kids, next to this dude. But they put him in a bear. I'm sure there was a reason for the bear thing that I missed earlier, but I don't really know why they put him in the bear. Maybe just because it looks cool.
Well, I mean, they had the poster on the wall of her with the bear, but randomly, and we went right over it. But I forget when. I think it's right when they get there and they're checking things out, and they go, "What is that?" They go, "Oh, it's a bear."
Yeah, or they're like, "Are we just gonna ignore the bear?" And the dude's like, "It's a bear." Yeah, but that was a brown bear, if I remember. The bear they used was a black bear. Inconsistency on the bears.
I don't think it was a black bear, but
I think so.
Nah,
the one they put him in.
It was like a mountain grizzly or something like that. It was red, even.
Yeah. Anyway, by the way, as the guy was running away, I forgot to mention that he found Josh's leg that was just sticking up out of the dirt wherever they buried him. So he knew that guy was dead. Yeah, that's what, because he's running and then he sees that, and that's what causes him to turn around and go back into the shack. So I don't know how they buried him, where like the one leg is sticking up, but whatever. They put him in this bear costume. They usher him into this yellow
costume,
this yellow like triangle temple that they had seen earlier that someone had asked about, and Pele was like, "Oh, that's an ancient temple. We don't go in there or whatever."
A forbidden place.
Yeah. And they put him in the center, and then they wheel in the English chick that apparently they drowned, and the dude who they had strung up. They bring him back in. Mark is here, his body. I guess they put his skin back on somehow. And then
it looks like they put his skin on too. It's like hanging kind of on him. It's
and then like Tyler said, we get 2 volunteers as well. And this whole sacrifice, and I think the sacrifice, kind of like the Wicker Man, they say this is for like the crops and everything once again. But either way, they have this sacrifice they're doing.
I want to point out something here, and I thought it was pretty bullshit. So Pele's brother and Pele bring people here, right?
Yeah.
Pele's pick ends up being the queen, and also bring in the bear to bring the new blood in. Other dude's pick is a flop, right?
Yeah, he sucked.
Other dude, quote unquote, volunteers to be in the house, right? He's the one on the left or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is this really a volunteer?
Yeah, it's kind of like,
mission?
Yeah, you kind of fucked up.
You hired a bad one, so get in the fucking fire. So I don't know. I was like,
Yeah. But either way, they get in there. They get given these things, like Tyler said, that's this like tree sap type shit. And they're like, take this and you'll feel no pain. Outside, Danny is wearing a full suit of like flowers and shit.
She's kind of like a triangle too. It's weird.
Yeah. They come in, they light the place on fire. It's playing like this majestic music and shit. Like I said, the 2 dudes are staring at each other, and then the one dude gets on fire, and he's like, "Ah." like
Yeah.
immediately. And it's like, ooh, I think they still feel some pain.
Just starts screaming, yeah.
Yeah. Outside, people are screaming with them and shit. And even Danny gets up and like is walking. And I will say it, like, people really like this dress that she's wearing. It looked really dumb with her walking with this big flower, like.
Yeah, she looked like Grimace covered in
Yeah.
flour. Like, it's not a look.
But she's walking and she's screaming and shit, and she like falls down. And then eventually she like looks back over to the thing, and she gets this big smile on her face, and that's the end of the movie. So presumably Danny is home, and she feels like she has a family, and she's being held up, and that's it. So there you go.
I forgot the best part of that whole thing is that they put a dude in the bear costume.
Yeah.
And then they put him in the middle of this building, but then they pose him like he's having a glass of brandy, and he's like just chilling, like in this bullshit pose.
And the only thing he can move is like his eyes, and he's just like, "What's going on?" Yeah.
I mean, then you have a guy in a bear costume who's like sitting like Hugh Hefner on the edge of a bed or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, anyways.
This movie had a budget of $9 million, made a box office of $48 million. So definitely made some money. I think, I've read through everything else. Let's do best of, worst of. My best of is the scene with the firefighters going in and finding the sister. Scene's still great.
Really good.
Yeah, it's a great scene. Like I said, for me, it really set the mood for the movie, and then the movie went a different way, and I'm like, kind of like, worst of, Mark. I hated Mark. Like, that dude, I don't know, this role, maybe he was coming off of like a string of like, he was the comedy kid, and this was his first, like, his Harry Potter role, where Harry Potter did Harry Potter and then went and did all these weird things, so he's like getting his foot in that door, but he just wasn't good in this. I didn't like it. Also, worst of is the fact that I know you're supposed to think Christian is a piece of shit this whole movie, and I never see it. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, dude had some like bad parts to him, but never was I like, oh man, this guy like, deserves this or whatever. But anyway, Tyler, what's your best of, worst of?
My worst of is the 4 minutes in the very beginning where she finds her family's dead, and she just.
Yeah. Funny enough, I think you said that same thing for Hereditary with the mom crying.
I was like, God, fuck it. That's because I don't have real emotions. I'm like a sociopath. So like, I'm like, fucking get over it. Oh, like I wouldn't mourn that much in real life. I'd be like, next day, what up? But best scene though, that's a hard one because there's so much good shit in this. Like, I know you hate it, but like the imagery and everything is. It's so bright and vibrant, but like underneath it all is this dark, seedy layer of like fucking just, I don't know, I don't want to say satanic shit, but because it's all pagan.
Yeah, it's for God or whatever their God is. Is their God still just God? He just thinks differently.
Okay, I'm gonna say something here.
Yeah.
And you're gonna judge me.
Okay.
And that's fine.
All right.
Judge away. Let me have it.
I will.
My favorite scene through this whole movie was when they are dancing around the pole. And the whole reason is this
you notice how I skipped over it all.
Well, she's having such a miserable time, and all you see is this girl get shit on, relationship problems, so on and so forth. Everyone bringing up her dead parents at the worst moment, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they really keep bringing it up.
But in that dancing scene, I say dancing. Well, it's not dancing. It's like marching, or I don't know what you call it. Yeah, but it's the first time like she's happy, right? She's smiling, she's having fun, she's giggling and everything else. And it was such an uplifting moment in the thing that they should have just ended the movie there. I was like, she's happy, she became queen, and they added all that other bullshit on the end. But I, for some reason, really like that scene, and I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There's like the visual stuff, right? Like,
they should have had the Wicker Man song with the where going around. That movie, there was like so many good songs in that movie.
I feel like if we were Swedish, we would understand more because a lot of people in this, they would make weird noises at weird times. They'd
I
be like,
saw
oof, oof,
apparently
and
Swedish
stuff like that.
people found this movie really funny. They thought it was like a dark comedy. So, yeah.
I mean, I've never met a Swedish. The only Swedish person I know is PewDiePie, and I don't know him. Right? Like I'm not like, hey, let's hang out.
I
He's
think
like,
I might
yeah.
have some Swedish in my blood. I'm not sure.
He doesn't return my phone calls. So
I'm mostly
fucking
German
idiots.
and Irish.
Mostly.
Mostly, yeah.
But like I don't. I mean, I have. I mean, we both do. We both have that dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like, there's some tragedies in life that I've joked about right off from the get go, and everyone's like, "How dare you?"
Mm-hmm.
And I've never, I don't think, apologized. But
Yeah.
I'm like, this is funny, and everyone's like, no.
Yeah.
But I know Tom thinks the same thing. So, well, not about my jokes, but about certain. Anyways, I'll bypass that because
Hmm.
I don't know. As a fan of dark comedy, I don't think this is a comedy at
I
all.
don't
right?
either, yeah.
Yeah,
Like I
don't
said, the
see
only
it,
part
like-
is Mark, why do you let me sleep through that? Just because it feels like something I would say. Like,
And if he meant it to be a dark comedy, then it's just not funny.
yeah.
Like you missed the mark, So
Uh-huh.
I get it, missed the mark. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Well, thanks for listening. Tyler, what do we want to watch next week? Do you have something in mind?
I did. I was gonna look, but I was like,
Okay.
maybe Tom has something planned because you just been picking them lately.
Yeah. It kind of, every now and then I'll throw out like, hey, you guys.
That Ethan Hawke movie coming out looks really good though.
The Black
Phone.
Phone, yeah. Hey, you know what? We're on the Ethan Hawke roll. With that, why don't we watch that Sinister movie that you've been wanting to watch? That was like scientifically the scariest movie ever. Based on like heart rates and shit.
Oh, is it Ethan Hawke?
Yeah, Ethan Hawke's the star of it. It's supposed to have one of the greatest jump scares of all time, which I know what it is, but we'll see if you can pinpoint it.
It's a jump scare. I hope I can.
Yeah, but I missed it.
I don't know.
Yeah, so why not? It's not even on my list. It just came to. Why don't we watch Sinister?
I mean, that sets us up for Black Phone after
It
that.
does,
I don't
yeah.
know when Black Phone's coming out.
I don't
but,
either. Yeah, I don't know what that because that movie sometimes it looks like he's gonna be a good guy, and then sometimes it looks like he's just straight up evil.
Yeah, he looks evil.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny that something that was very normal in my lifetime is now an icon for evil. Right? Like
Black
the
phone?
Black Phone.
Yeah.
And it's like most people don't even know what a phone is nowadays. But
Yeah.
now it's like the Black Phone. It's like, yeah, my Apple is
Yeah.
So we're watching Sinister. I'm gonna try to spend some of your money now.
Okay.
Is there a way to order like a heart rate monitor that tracks all the time? I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a Fitbit. It doesn't do it 24/7. It's like every 10 minutes it tells you something. But I don't know if there's like an EKG machine you can just connect to yourself and then
Maybe.
then watch it, and then I could borrow it and then watch it, and then we could see who's the biggest bitch. Fucking, I'm just gonna have a heart attack on this thing.
Yeah.
Be like, well,
Tyler died.
we think you won.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just thought, but
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like we have to research, but I'm pretty sure there's got to be a cheap one, right? That old people use, like
Yeah.
when they watch fucking soap
Gilmore
operas or whatever.
Girls. Anyway. All right. Thanks for watching. Next
Dare you
week.
say Gilmore Girls?
Next week, Sinister. That's coming out. Earlier this week, Monday, The Northman Smoke Break episode came out. Go check that one out.
Also, Ari Aster.
No.
Who? Oh yeah, it's not.
Eggers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my bad.
That was, I wondered, because that was why I was wondering, because Edgar's did his 2 horror ones, and then he went and did this one that's more of like a drama type thing. And I wonder if Aster was gonna, because they're kind of, to me, they're kind of linked together. I wonder if he'll just stick horror if he'll ever sprout out and do like a drama type movie. So I guess we'll see with whatever the next one is. But anyway, so that's coming out Some shorts and stuff should be coming out. Probably. I
Man,
got some.
You posted the best short ever today.
Which one was today? Oh, the I'm putting some muggy water in the chest.
Hey, I put some dirty water in there because I need it for stuff. Don't drink it.
I'm not saying you guys are dumb, but don't drink it. And I drank a bottle earlier.
Well, I'm not trying to imply that y'all would drink the dirty water, but I just letting you know that it's dirty. I drank a bottle earlier. I was like, I laughed so hard for that short.
Link to the gaming channel and everything in the description. You can go see that short that we just talked about. There's going to be a lot more. I just have them scheduled and lit, and they're just coming out. Like I think there's maybe like 30 of them. So for the next 30 days or so, they're just bang, 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 bang.
So I think I'm going to start doing voiceover gaming videos.
Yeah.
So that might be. You don't care, I know, but they're just going to throw them on that channel, and then I'm going to start the TV show on this one. So much work though. I don't know how you do it.
It's a lot. All right. Anyway, thanks for watching. Food's been ready for like the last 30 minutes.
What are you having?
Hamburgers.
I'm having barbecue chicken thighs.
Nice. I'm gonna go eat, and then I'm gonna go sleep in like 45 minutes and get ready for work tomorrow.
Yeah, I gotta be there at 9, so I'm not that early, but yeah.
So anyway,
thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks. See you next week.
Oh wait.
Oh.
I was gonna say, tell me what you think of the new mic. Tell me if it's a hit or a miss.
Leave a comment, Papa. Hades.
Well, I meant you, not.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. I meant everybody.
Yeah.
All
right.
We'll see.
Yeah. Next time.